If there was only a way to test this, check this. Listen to the 40 for your next shit. Flexes, FF is what they obsess with. Checklist complete, I guess you can't best us. Rest of the fantasy community, go ahead and book the L when they lose to me. It's nothing new to me, I'm just the dude you see. Biggest difference is I listen regularly.
We are back once again with the Fantasy 40 podcast, doing the second half of the Week 13 games, which has a whole mix mash of bullshit due to the nonsense carrying over from Week 12. We are recording this moments before the kickoff of the Steelers and Ravens game, and that has affected how the rest of the schedule went. So, Walk, how are you, and what do you think of this afternoon slate? Is it better or worse than the morning slate, which on our previous episode we determined to be the worst morning slate of the entire NFL season?
I'm doing a lot better since we got that out of the way, because we would be hard-pressed to find a worse slate of games with little intrigue or talking points than the 1 o'clock slate in Week 13. So, yeah, the matchmakers did slightly better in the afternoon slate. Maybe it's just there's better teams on the West Coast at this point in time. Who knows? But we also have double Monday Night Football and a bonus Tuesday game as well due to this COVID-impacted season, specifically for those Baltimore Ravens. So let's dive in at 4:05 with your Lumen Field. You see, they slapped that name all over everything. Seattle Seahawks.
What is it now?
Lumen Field. Did you not see
when did that happen?
Literally 30 times. It was every square inch of that stadium was Lumen Field. That's the parent company, or they bought. What was it called before?
Was it CenturyLink?
CenturyLink, yeah. They bought CenturyLink, or they're the parent, so they took over the naming rights. It's Lumen, Lumen Field. And your Seattle Seahawks do battle against the Daniel Jones-less New York Giants.
Who said things would get better? So Seattle is a 10-point home favorite. Truthfully, it should be more, to be completely honest. So I think they cover that easily. Total of 48, and which is kind of high because I don't see the Giants getting to their total there. Anyway, I digress. The Seahawks are why are they not on the board here? Oh, I think it's off the board on this thing because they're not sure what the Giants quarterback situation is.
We're saying 34 points. Now,
yeah, minus 10, 38.
No, 29. Sorry, 29 points. Implied total.
Yeah. So
I gave them all 10. Probably more realistic than just giving them half.
Yeah, Seattle's going to beat the dog shit out of the Giants, especially without Daniel Jones there. I think, isn't Colt McCoy currently the leading candidate to be the starting quarterback?
Colt McCoy is the backup. So, yes, Colt McCoy is under center. I wrote no thank you to the entire New York Giants offense.
Correct. They may have to lean on Gallman. Gallman might be a sneaky play this week to be a guy to get you some under the radar points, but other than that, yeah, you can't trust anybody in the Giants. I think my guy Slayton did absolutely nothing last week, and he's going to do even worse with McCoy. So maybe Ingram. I mean, these guys, I'd have to go through McCoy's history and see who he leans on, but a lot of guys that come in like to target the tight end a bit. So Ingram could be in play, but other than that, no thank you to the Giants. Like I said, Gallman might get leaned on because they have to. But I think Seattle comes out and lights them up. I like Wilson. I like Carson. And again, another team with a very narrow distribution tree. It's going to Carson, and especially with Greg Olsen out, which looks like I think he might be out for the rest of the year, possibly even. But you got Metcalf, you got Lockett, and you got Chris Carson, and that's where these targets are going. David Moore makes his occasional appearance, but it's not consistent enough to trust him. So I think Seattle smashes the Giants at this weird newly named stadium. But yeah, 10 ain't enough. I think they crush them. They could get to 48 by themselves.
I wouldn't be surprised. Do you know what David Moore's stat line was for the game against the Eagles?
Oh, I know it was something goofy. It was like 3 catches for like -4 yards and a touchdown, right?
-6. Yes. He
Yeah.
had a 1-yard touchdown and -7 on 2 other catches. But he got the touchdown after Metcalf got tackled at like the 1 foot line after roasting Darius Slay for a 52-yard completion. And DK Metcalf just looked otherworldly against my Eagles, and he was the focal point of that entire offense, and well, he should be. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But then he inexplicably dropped an easy touchdown and hit him right in the hands when he overjumped, and Darius fell on what should have been a 25-yard touchdown. So you got the full DK Metcalf in that one.
Quick question for you. So I'm doing some of the mocks for DLF to set the ADP stuff. Metcalf has gone 3rd overall, number 3 pick in dynasty startups. What do you think?
I mean, that's obviously too high for, I would say.
A lot of people have him as the dynasty wide receiver 1 now.
It's hard to hate him because he's tied to Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson's going to play for conservatively the next 6 to 8 years and probably play at a reasonably high level for that time. He protects himself. He takes care of his body. These new rules, you're not allowed to touch quarterbacks, so it's going to extend careers, much like Russell Wilson. So it's hard to argue. I'm still taking Tyreek Hill over DK Metcalf. If we're talking about dynasty, I'm probably taking Devontae Adams over DK Metcalf, even if you just give me 3 to 4 more years being Aaron Rodgers' top target. That's just better quality than it is in an offense that seems to be regressing in the pass attempts department in favor of their running game, falling back into their old ways as the season goes on. We're going to see more Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde running the football and less pass attempts for Russell Wilson. And that might even be the case in this game where they are not going to have to chase points or score a lot to handily beat these New York Giants. This could be a sneaky second half. Carlos Hyde gets 80 yards and a touchdown just in the second half game. But you're going to start Metcalf. He's going to get Bradbury, but Metcalf has shown that you better double cover him. There's not a human man alive that could cover DK Metcalf one-on-one effectively. You might be able to reduce his upside, but you are not going to eliminate DK Metcalf. And it seems as though the Seahawks have finally got to the point where they are focusing on getting Metcalf the ball and just allowing him to destroy smaller human beings. And that's an effective game plan, Mr. Carroll. So keep it up. I love DK Metcalf. But yeah, this is a terrible kickoff to the 4 p.m. slate. You're right on Ingram probably being the only one. I don't know that I'm even trusting Gallman, even though he has been amazing, because Seattle's run defense has gotten a lot better since they've added Carlos Dunlap off the edge, and being behind it might be more Deion Lewis. Dunlap's hurt? Yeah, he played the whole game against us. Yeah. He was in the backfield all day, so they won't need him, but still, I would say maybe a sneaky Deion Lewis catches 5 or 6 passes game. If you're in desperate need of a flex, you might want to look that route. But, yeah, I want nothing Colt McCoy driven. So getting out of there, we are going to head to State Farm Stadium, where it seems like L.A. is moving for the short term. And the L.A. Rams are going to be visiting bum-shouldered, not admitting it, Kyler Murray, and the Arizona Cardinals.
Dunlap's getting an MRI on his foot today, to go back to that for a second. So you know what that means.
Man, couldn't have done that before the Eagles game.
So the Rams are a 3-point favorite at Arizona. Total is 48, so they're expecting some points here. The Rams are – where are they? Is this another one that's off the board? Oh, there it is. 25.75. Well, the Cardinals are looking at 22, so they're expecting 6 touchdowns in this game also. Yeah, Murray's kind of banged up. Obviously not enough to bench him. He's going to be in there the rest of the year, and sometimes it does hurt these guys' fantasy production for the rest of the year, so not quite sure where to go. Kenyon Drake made a fucking appearance again, and boy, you give up on him, he has a good game, you move on, and then then when you accept him again, he stinks. So going off the Kenyon Drake plan, do people trust him? Yes. Did he have a good game? Yes. So will he do it again this week? No. People will start him, and he's going to shit the bed for him. So not interested there. Hopkins has a tough matchup here. Should get Ramsey most of the game. I know that. I think he's think his games go 50-50 against him, if I recall, in the past. Like he has one big one bad one. So good luck here. Who knows which way that goes. For the Rams, I don't really trust anybody either. I mean, to have a breakout game, obviously Woods gets his work. So does Cooper Kupp. I want to know who's not getting Patrick Peterson, because we've seen it with, a couple times this year where the Seahawks just pepper whoever. I think it's Kirkpatrick is on.
Oh, yeah.
And so there could be, check the matchups here. I'm assuming would it be Christian Kirk? Is Kupp going to be? Or I'm sorry, not Christian Kirk. Reynolds, is that the guy? Is that number 3?
Yeah, he's their 3 now for the Rams. They move Kupp. Well, Kupp plays a lot of slots.
Yeah,
Woods around. So I don't know that you're going to be able to get the eraser in Patrick Peterson. He may just stick to the outside rather than.
But I'm wondering if you kind of trickle down their receiver depth chart and get whoever's more likely to see. You know what I mean? Go for their number 2 or 3 guy in targets, and hopefully they'll get Kirkpatrick and then smoke him. And then, the big thing is with the Rams now, it looked like Akers finally had his rookie breakout game. And this is kind of the time of year where a lot of these rookies who disappoint, especially at running back, start emerging and get a little more work as the team, is preparing for the playoffs or getting ready for next year to see what they have in players. So it could be a mirage. I don't trust them enough because they've really, done quite a number with this 3-headed running back committee here. So I could get why you'd play Akers. I'm scared to trust him, but the way you've used any of these guys all year, this isn't anything new if you've rostered them. So good luck to you making the right decision there. But this is, we'd mentioned it with some of the 1:00 games. This is one of those games too where, good luck trying to figure out where the points are coming from. I think they both do score. I think the game goes over the 48, but who's it going to be? Woohoo! No idea.
Spoiler alert! This is the best game on the afternoon slate, Sunday afternoon slate. So stay excited. But to your point, the Arizona, you said that Kenyon Drake had a good game. Well, he had 3.5 yards per carry. He had 2 1-yard touchdowns. So unfortunately, that does qualify as a good Kenyon Drake game.
For fantasy, yeah.
Fine. Yeah, another disappointment. If Kyler Murray's healthy, I don't know he gets either of those touchdowns because he got stoned the first time. I think his 1 touchdown was on a second 1-yard carry. So, healthy Kyler Murray is going to take that himself in subsequent games. But you said you can't sit Kyler Murray. I'm going to tell you I am sitting Kyler Murray, and it just happens to be in a spot where I have the bye locked up, but I'm still fighting for total points, which comes with a little extra cash, and I'm starting to take some help over Kyler Murray this week at present. He's not doing well throwing the ball. He is not running at all. I don't know where his upside is, with Aaron Donald and the like coming to town. I'll miss the week. I can afford to with the potential upside of someone else because I just don't. I've seen 2 weeks of what Kyler Murray is with that injured shoulder, and he's not willing to risk it running, and it limits his upside as a passer. So that's where I'm at in this game. Arizona is a middle of the pack run defense. So yeah, whichever Ram it is, might be all 3, but Darrell Henderson's been dinged up. I think he's nursing like an ankle, and Akers, as you put it, is just kind of emerging at the right time. So yeah, I don't think he's going to run away with this offense. It's still going to stay a 3-headed monster. Hot hand, I think, is what McVay said. So you could miss any given week, but you have to like what Akers did. He brought some explosion to that offense against the 49ers that neither of those other 2 running backs have brought recently. On the other side, the Rams' run defense is tight, less than 3 yards per carry. They're a top 5 run defense in rushing yards allowed this season. So, temper your Kenyon Drake expectations. I think you said when you trust him, sit him. So this might be that game if you have better options to get out from under Kenyon Drake. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see Jalen Ramsey against DeAndre Hopkins, but that could free up the likes of a Christian Kirk to have a decent game. So again, like I said, probably the best game on the Sunday afternoon evening slate. So while I set that table, let's just talk about my Philadelphia Eagles. And Carson Wentz / Jalen Hurts head to Lambeau Field as my Philadelphia Eagles do battle with Aaron Rodgers, king of the red zone touchdown, and the Green Bay Packers.
Boy, is he. Going to your Philly guys, since you're a local there. What's the rumor? Is Hurts going to get in there? Are they still?
Listen, it was a clusterfuck. If you watch that game, they brought him in on second down, and I think they had to call a timeout, and then he threw a 6-yard out, and then it was third down. So they brought Carson Wentz back in for a third and 4, and I'm just like, what's going on here? There's no reason for this. And then the other play, he handed the ball off. So it was much ado about nothing. He tried to come in one more time in the game, but he had the wrong helmet on, so he had to run back off the field. It was like a clown car in the huddle.
Calliope music in the background.
Yeah, him and Wentz, and it doesn't generate any consistency for either of them. And listen, I am a Wentz apologist, as you well know, until my death. He doesn't look good. He has to accept some of this blame, but this offense is broken. Our line is below average. Our receivers get zero separation. They're letting Alshon Jeffrey play wide receiver right now. I mean, it should tell you all you need to know. That guy doesn't even run routes. He walks them at this point in time. So any Drake Kirkpatrick could cover Alshon Jeffrey at this point in his career. So why is he out there? Travis Fulgham had as many snaps as Alshon. It's a disgrace. I did just see that Ertz got activated, so we're going to get Ertz and Goddard back. So maybe that helps a little bit with two guys he trusts and doesn't have to try and force it to these wide receivers who aren't getting open. But what it should ultimately be is Miles Sanders' 20-carry game against Green Bay. I mean, they just made David Montgomery look like Dalvin Cook last week. So key on the run game, try and keep the ball out of Green Bay's hands. I got to think that's the game plan. But if that's what I think, that's exactly what Doug Peterson isn't going to do.
So getting back to the game, I'm glad we got that Eagles trashing out of the way. The Eagles are Green Bay is a 9 or 9.5 point home favorite. The total is anywhere between 46.5 and 48.5, depending where you get it here in Vegas. Roughly, because of the goofy change in the numbers, you're looking at 28 for Green Bay, 18 for those Philadelphia Eagles. Green Bay did what we here at the 40 hate to see. Got Jamal Williams involved there. So we go through this every year. It's the Aaron Jones backslide into the fantasy playoffs because of his shitty coaching. Jones is still the lead guy, but yeah, just Williams is getting just enough work to fucking really cap his super high ceiling that we've seen when Jones gets the full workload. So it's hard to. You can still trust him, but you're not expecting those huge games like we've seen earlier in the year. I think at this point, it seems like maybe he's hurt. Fingers crossed, that's what it is, and then he gets better in a week or two, and then he gets a heavier workload. But you'd mentioned Aaron Rodgers. Boy, what a year he's having. Adams is obviously a stud. You alluded to him being your dynasty wide receiver one. You'll get no argument from me. And we mentioned it before. Green Bay has a narrow distribution tree also. Tunyon might get involved here. But, do you trust Lazard, MVS, and the other guys there? Not really. So very narrow tree. You know who's going to get it, although getting Williams involved now in the backfield is not ideal. You mentioned Philly leaning on the run. Obviously, Miles Sanders is in play. Green Bay can be run on. I mean, we mentioned it in the first episode. David Montgomery ran all over him, so there's no reason Miles Sanders can't. So I love Miles Sanders on the Philly side at wide receiver. I want Rager just to do a little more, please. So I don't really trust anybody in Philly now. And the points don't look to be there at only 18 points. So they're just looking at 2 touchdowns at best.
It's tough. Green Bay run defense giving up 4.6 yards per carry and 11 rushing touchdowns on the season. I mean, if not now to focus on Miles Sanders in a running game, when? I mean, you're a 10-point dog going to Lambeau Field in a game where you cannot afford to give Aaron Rodgers, additional offensive opportunities. So you got to do it. On the Green Bay side, you mentioned Jamal Williams. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, both had 17 carries against the Bears. Aaron Jones averaged a full yard per carry more, but Jamal Williams got the touchdown. So Jamal Williams was a better fantasy starter than Aaron Jones on the week, even though Aaron Jones is by far the better running back. So what can we do but hope and pray that Aaron Jones – at this point, I hope he doesn't re-sign in Green Bay. I know it's such an optimal environment for a running back, but they don't use him optimally. Like, I want him to go somewhere else where there's not a Jamal Williams or, not this, reliance on multiple running backs. So maybe they drafted A.J. Dillon knowing they weren't re-signing Aaron Jones after the season. Free Aaron Jones season, because I am sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers, who threw for 211 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Chicago Bears, because he throws these short yardage touchdowns on like 1st and goal from the 2 constantly. It's maddening as an Aaron Jones owner and lover. But anyone that has Aaron Rodgers absolutely loves it, because he's got 4 touchdowns on 29 passes against the Bears, even though he had limited yardage. So
I've got an Aaron Jones landing spot for you as I'm just perusing through the names here.
The answer is yes.
How about him with the Niners?
Just glorious. They're not committed to anyone after year. How about in Arizona?
I don't know if they want to throw the ball so much. I mean, I know he's capable in the passing game, but I'd like to see a team that would definitely lean on him sometimes, and I don't feel like Arizona would ever go, fuck it, we're going to run the ball 30 times and throw it 15.
Atlanta next year.
Oh, Atlanta. I'd like to see the head coaches first and their OC, but I get where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, there are places that would appreciate Aaron Jones greater than Wisconsin. So, free Aaron Jones. But yeah, in this game, who knows? I mean, there's some tight ends to take. You're definitely starting Aaron Rodgers, definitely starting Aaron Jones. You're definitely starting Devontae Adams. You're not going any deeper. You're not starting MVS. You don't want to really start Allen Lazard. On the Philly side, you're not starting any wide receivers. You have to start Miles Sanders as a hopefully high-end RB2. If you're in a pinch, go Carson Wentz, because he's going to need to be chasing points right out of the gate. And maybe the return of Ertz lifts this offense a little bit and makes it passable, but he's just got to cut down on the bonehead interception. So the line seems about right there. Let's move to the last 4 o'clock East game, and it is the Cam Newton-led questionable call against Arizona on the late hit. New England Patriots for the win. Head to SoFi Stadium. Are they allowed to play in SoFi Stadium? That in effect yet?
Yeah, no, San Francisco can't play at home.
That's it?
Just in that, whatever county they're in.
Oh, I thought it was all LA teams. So
no,
the 49ers are playing in Arizona for the next couple weeks.
Bay Area teams, yeah.
Ah, I thought it was all LA teams. Okay, look, we learn something every day. Okay, head to SoFi Stadium. No one's keeping people out of SoFi Stadium. That is a monument.
Except the fucking Chargers themselves.
And they are hosting the Justin Herbert-led LA Chargers.
Chargers are hosting.
Yep.
So pick 'em. It's a pick 'em. So who's going to win this one? New England is a 40. The total's around 47. Some places have it a little higher, but we'll say 47 as a pick 'em. So split that right down the middle, and you have basically 23 to 23, 23 to 24. Some places have them the Chargers a 1-point favorite. So on paper, 23 to 23. So both getting a hair over 3 touchdowns here. We'll go with the usual Chargers schematic. Should they win this game?
Yes.
Okay, so they're going to lose. So that's how that works. That was easy enough. Obviously, Keenan Allen's getting peppered with targets and has been producing with it. Bear has been pretty awesome all year. Eckler came back. I benched him everywhere I had him. I was too chicken shit. I was like, they're not gonna use him super heavy. And fuck, I think he got 23 touches or something. He had a really nice fantasy day. So fire up Eckler, but that's about it on the Chargers side. New England, as usual, can't trust anybody there, so there's nothing happening for fantasy as far as I'm concerned on New England. Even Cam has played like shit in their wins. I mean, he had those couple good games early in the year with 1 or 2 passing touchdowns, and he ran 1 or 2 in also. But he's, I think he had like 86 yards or some trash last week, so he's not. He might get in the end zone, but he's not putting up enough yardage on the ground or through the air to be really fantasy relevant. So I'm fading all the Patriots, even though they might win, just because who are you going to trust? Do you trust Harris to come back this week? No, I don't remember a Patriots running back having 2 good games on the ground in a row in 20 years. So I'm not trusting anybody there.
Yeah, Chargers not that good against the run, giving up 4.8 per carry, 11 rushing touchdowns on the season. They're middle of the pack run defense, so that plays into New England's strengths. But you're right. They trust no one for this New England offense. For Brandon the Chargers, I think Keenan Allen might see some Stephon Gilmore, which would not be ideal for Mr. Allen, but you're not going to be sitting him. Hopefully that frees up Mike Williams and Jalen Guytons of the world to run deep, because the Patriots are allowing 12 yards per reception this season. Just not good. They are just giving it up through the air, which just plays right into a Bears' strengths. But I've seen Bill Belichick make many a rookie quarterback look immortal in his illustrious career by scheming, confusing looks and the like. Like they're putting it together with hopes and dreams in New England this year, and somehow are 5-6 when I don't think they deserve to be 2-9 with the games I've seen them play. But they beat the Ravens. They just beat the Cardinals, who both have mobile, explosive quarterbacks and offenses to various degrees. So why not the Chargers? Like you said, are Chargers supposed to win? Yes. Will they win? No. It's a pretty straightforward correlation. To your point on Austin Eckler, 14 carries for 44 yards. Not very explosive there, but I've always said that's not where Austin Eckler makes his hay, and he should not be a primary running downs back. But he turned 16 targets into 11 catches for 85 yards. So he had 25 touches in his first game back.
Boy,
he's a stud. Did you see the final series of plays to end this game?
I did not.
They lost by 10. They threw a bomb that got caught by Tylen Johnson, who got tackled at the 2-yard line. They had no timeouts left because Anthony Lynn was just burning through timeouts on bonehead plays. He called a timeout to argue with the refs earlier in the second half. So
you think he's getting fired? I saw that people think
he should be fired. He should be. I'd like the man, but I've seen enough of him not being head coach material, in my opinion. Then they run the ball on first down with no timeouts left in 20 seconds with Austin Eckler. He gets stoned. Then I believe they called a quarterback sneak with Justin Herbert on second down. They're down 10 points in this game with 30 seconds left.
That's a play where it was supposed to be a trick sneak where all the entire offensive line dropped into pass pro, and then he tried to run through them and got smushed to death.
That sounds about right. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to make sure I get this right. Okay, this is the set of plays. 4th and 27 from the 43, 55-yard completion to Tylan Wallace down to the 2. That was at the 1-minute mark. At 25 seconds, when they got up to the line, they ran Austin Eckler up the middle for a 1-yard gain. With 8 seconds left, Herbert did throw an incomplete pass to Mike Williams, but there was a penalty on Quentin Jefferson for roughing Justin Herbert. Then on 1st and 1 from the 6, Herbert throws an incomplete pass again to Mike Williams, and then 2nd and 1 with 3 seconds left, Justin Herbert up the middle for -3 yards. That's how they finished the game. They were down by 10 points. Didn't kick the field goal. Didn't have any timeouts to stop the clock. Ran it on the first down after the big catch. It was insane. Talk about Madden-esque play calling right there. It was tough to see. So, yes, I do think Anthony Lynn should be fired because Justin Herbert just is better. Get an offensive mastermind. Bring Joe Brady or Eric Bieniemy to the Chargers and those skill position players. Just think what that would be. We're talking about those two guys going everywhere. Why not the Chargers? They have a plethora of offensive talent. They can fix that O-line and get healthy on defense and get a good head coach. They're a team to be reckoned with. But that game sucked. So let's talk about Sunday Night Football. The Drew Lock returns from the COVID list. His mom's telling everyone on Twitter to leave her son alone. Head to Arrowhead Stadium to get absolutely drubbed by Tyreek Hill and the Kansas City Chiefs.
It's rubbing if you trust the lines makers. So total of 51, someplace they have 50.5. The Chiefs are only a 14-point home favorite, and they should cruise past that. Chiefs are the highest projected team on the board this week at 32.5, which is one of the highest of the year. I mean, usually teams get to 31, but don't crack into that 32 too often. And Denver, one of the second lowest this week, 18.5. If the Bengals didn't exist, they would be the lowest. So highest scoring team on the board against the lowest.
32 is the Chiefs' floor. That's their floor for this game. That's the least amount of points they'll score.
If it was in Denver, I might disagree, but at home, yeah, I can't say you're wrong. Denver, they're better with Locke, but I don't. Do you trust Gordon? Do you trust
no.
Freeman? Do you trust Lindsay?
Never trust Melvin.
Do you trust Tim Patrick? Do you trust Jerry Jeudy? Do you trust KJ Hamler? It could be a nice spot for Hamler. They're going to be down. Hamler might be the big play guy that catches 3 balls for 2 touchdowns and 104 yards. So Hamler's probably the sneakiest guy. You want to play DFS and cross your fingers and hope for some big fucking bombs out of that guy. But other than that, Denver is garbage. Kansas City, what can you say? I mean, Tyreek Hill and Pat Mahomes are obviously plug and play. The other wide receivers have been pretty hit or miss week to week, so it's hard to really trust them. But no one's going to fault you for playing any of them either. Is Sammy Watkins, the corpse of Sammy Watkins, back?
He was supposed to be back last week. But
that's what I thought, but he didn't play, did he?
No, so you got to think he was
and
close.
He sucks anyway. Le'Veon Bell has done nothing since he's been there. Edwards-Helaire also
nothing since he's been there.
Yeah,
he had one game where there's 2 rushing touchdowns against the Patriots. But he has suffered limited touches since Le'Veon Bell as well.
Yeah, I agree. Possibly get right. So it's you don't get to say this much. It's hard to trust anybody on Kansas City necessarily outside of Hill and Mahomes and Kelsey, of course. But this is a spot where a lot of these guys can pop because they're all going to get a chance. The concern here, which I've said earlier in the year, if they score, if it's fucking 32-0 at the half, do they let these guys play the whole second half? So I think the ceiling, despite what it looks like on paper, is capped because I have a hard time thinking that they let these guys play the full game.
So you're telling me that Chad Henne is throwing a touchdown to Mecole Hardman in the second half of this game?
Fuck it. There's our bold prediction. Yes.
That's where you're at? Okay. I'll take Mecole Hardman touchdowns any way I can get them. I don't care in what shape or form. I just
Henne to Robinson just to burn you.
In my veins, yeah, because you can't call Pringle because he's on IR. So how deep can we go? But I'm with you. I mean, Kansas City, just so amazing. I mean, this is no other way to put it. I mean, just Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are just transcendent defense fearing playmakers. Just you can't scheme them out. I mean, and Andy Reid is just so fucking smart, and Patrick Mahomes is wise beyond his years in processing defenses and knowing where to throw it. They're just going to pick apart Denver, and there's nothing Drew Lock or any of those guys you mentioned could do about it. And I love me some undersized speedsters, so I'm with you on the KJ Hamler love. They had a wide receiver that was a bad college quarterback throwing passes last week. Let's get back to some semblance of normalcy with a guy that can actually throw the ball. Someone on Denver running the ball should have a decent game because the Chiefs allow you to run on them. They just don't let you pass on them. So Melvin Gordon might have a passable game here. I think Philip Lindsay got dinged up, so you could see 15 to 18 carries for Melvin Gordon, but I don't like him, so I'm not gonna suggest that you do that. But yeah, Kansas City by murder.
Does Vic Fangio get fired?
I heard that he is on the outs, and I always thought he was a little overmatched. He's been passed over numerous times to be a head coach, so there's got to be a reason. He's an older guy. He's just a great DC. Let him go back to what he's good at. I said bring him to Philly. Fire Jim Schwartz the day that Fangio's fired and is offering whatever he wants. Come to Philly and fix this defense. So, yeah, I think he will when this is all said and done because they're not getting better, and they're probably going to go into a rebuild since Locke's not the guy either. All right, that was Sunday. We still have 3 games left. So let's get in, get on, get out, as they say in the biz. Monday night football or Monday dinner time football for me, or Monday lunchtime football for you, maybe another pizza. The Washington football team heads to Heinz Ketchup Field to do battle with the about to kick off Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, obviously, because the Pittsburgh game has not happened. The lines are not official yet. Looks like the total's 44 and Pittsburgh's 8.5-point favorite. That's obviously subject to change if Ben Roethlisberger is crippled in today's game. But as much as I've liked Washington as the year has gone on, obviously they're not in the same class as Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh should kick the door of them. So give me your Steelers players in this one. Washington's been really good against the pass. However, I don't think they've faced a team with 3 wide receivers as good as Pittsburgh has. Again, it's a wide receiver by committee situation, so they may take away their top option, but who's the top option? So somebody in this game will probably have a good game. 2 of the 3 may have a good game. They're going to probably shut one person down on Pittsburgh, but we've seen week to week they're able to pivot and make one of the 3 guys the guy. So it's hard to know who that's going to be. I don't like it for fantasy just because of the uncertainty. I mean, obviously, if you have Claypool or Johnson or Juju and you've been playing them, you just have to plug them in your lineup and hope for the best. At least it's not week 1 of the playoffs. If this was week 14, it would be a real fucking stomach turner to know, you know what I mean? You plugged him in there and that was the guy Washington chose to shut down. So I'm glad this is a pre-playoff game. But Washington, same thing. Very narrow distribution tree. We got our guy Gibson, McKissick's catching passes out of the backfield, and Terry McLaurin. I obviously don't trust Alex Smith for fantasy. He's a significantly better real-life football player. And that's about it. This is probably a better NFL game than a fantasy game.
Steelers and football team 1-2 as far as passing yards allowed. From the quarterback position. So they are not giving it up through the air. Both really good as far as running backs are concerned as well. So we're looking at some pretty stout defenses, all things being considered. Steelers better run defense than the Washington football team, but nonetheless, just not a doormat. Ron Rivera's put his stamp on his team pretty early on. Yeah. You summed it up rather nicely. I mean, McLaurin's the only pass catcher you're going to trust in Washington anyway. Maybe Logan Thomas in this wasteland. Pittsburgh, you're right. My question to you is, our boy Antonio Gibson is on a 5-game touchdown streak. Does he make it 6?
Yeah. Here's the thing with him, right? We talked about this a bunch before. What was his college? He got a touchdown every 7 touches or something crazy?
It was, yeah. I mean, it was.
And I think in the NFL, I did the math. I did the math during this week. I think he's a touchdown every 8 or 9 in the NFL so far. So, I mean, look, body work in college, but we saw what he could do. People were like, who knows the NFL? And he's getting better as a running back each week, and they haven't even used him in the passing game, which is what was good at coming in. Like we thought, maybe have more of an Eckler role where he was the receiving guy and get some limited work and do a decent job with his touches, but they've actually used him as a running back more, and he's gotten better at it. I'm really, he's one of our favorite guys here on the Fantasy 40, but I'm curious to see what he's like with the off season, getting ready as an NFL running back with the experience under his belt. So I think the answer to your question is yes. I think he gets an end zone again, and I think he keeps it up for the year. He hasn't shown us a reason why he wouldn't keep getting in the end zone going back to college.
Yeah, I mean, he has 11 rushing touchdowns on 139 attempts. So it's he is a touchdown every 12.5 carries on the season. He does have some catches. He doesn't have a receiving touchdown here, which is odd, but he's amazing. We love him. Hopefully better days are ahead. Get a quarterback in there. No disrespect to Alex Smith, but you're not the future. You're just the comeback player of the year, and let's inject some youth into that offense and raise all those ships. But that will be an ugly game whether Big Ben gets hurt tonight or not. So let's talk about a different Monday Night Football game, the late original only Monday Night Football game in Week 13, and it is the Josh Allen-led Buffalo Bills head to, here it is, State Farm Stadium to face off against those San Francisco 49ers. So we're going back-to-back State Farm Stadium days, as you well noted. It's just the Bay Area. So San Fran's home game in Arizona.
What's State Farm Stadium? Where the Cardinals play?
Yeah.
A different one.
They're playing in Arizona.
They were at University of Phoenix Stadium for the Cardinals.
Remember we talked about that?
Oh.
It became Jake from State Farm Stadium?
Stupid name. I hate the fucking corporate. All right, I digress. Buffalo is a 2.5-point road favorite over the Niners, who are also coincidentally on the road as a home team. The Bills are looking at 25 points, while the Niners are looking at 22. The Niners are in just a bad situation, so I don't think it's even this close.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is San Fran can only somehow beat the LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals right now. They are not fit to match with any other team outside their division, but it's going to be interesting. This is just a very odd environment. It's Monday night, Buffalo on the road, no teams at home. Monday, I don't know. I think San Francisco can keep pace here. I don't know why I think that, but seeing Deebo Samuel get off and then seeing that Brandon Ayuk is going to be back and they're getting their running backs healthy again. I don't know. I just trust Mike. I do it every time. Sorry. Kyle Shanahan here. No disrespect. Your dad was awesome too. So, and on the Buffalo side, I mean, I don't know. I still don't trust Josh Allen. I don't. So Sam Fran could scheme him up and I can say minimize because you don't minimize Josh Allen, but make him make some mistakes here. So consider me a San Fran homer in this road home game of theirs. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson brought a little bit to that running game. One more week with Mostert, he should get the lion's share of the carries. You can run on these Buffalo Bills. They are very pedestrian in the run game. If San Fran can establish the run, that's going to limit offensive touches for those Buffalo Bills.
You swung me around. I was all Buffalo in this game. I thought the 2.5 wasn't enough, and you've talked me into the Niners covering it now. So,
yeah, they're getting, just the disrespect for the Super Bowl losers. Having to head to Arizona to host a home game because the mayor of the Bay is telling them they're not welcome. So, tis what it is. But yeah, I just don't see a lot there. I mean, you're going to start Deebo, you're going to start what's his name, Diggs, and you don't really want to go deeper than that at wide receiver. If John Brown's out, my boy Gabe Davis shows up every time he gets starting those 3 wide sets. So you could do worse than Gabriel Davis. The tight ends, you don't want anyone in Buffalo and San Fran. You'd think you'd want Jordan. Christ.
Well, Knox is healthy, and he did get in the end zone last week. So especially if they're banged up at wide receiver, I could see Knox scoring again. I don't see the volume being there for him to be, tight end 1 material. But if you're in a pinch, you can do a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, but Jordan Reed was supposed to be something last week. He didn't do shit, so maybe he helps you out this week. But if you have Ayuk and Deebo back, they're going to eat the lion's share of the receptions along with the running backs. So not the fantasy friendliest game. What's the total on it?
47.5 or 48.
Okay, sounds about right. All right, let's finish with a flurry. Tuesday night, the Dallas Andy Dalton-led, still disgusting Cowboys head to M&T Bank Stadium to potentially face off against Lamar Jackson, everyone else that's on the COVID list at present, and those Baltimore Ravens.
So, because Baltimore's playing today as we record this, there is no line in this game. The one little early line that came out was Baltimore 7-point home favorite against Dallas with no total. I suspect Baltimore is going to get killed by the Steelers today. I think they get healthy. I think Dallas is a perfect team to come on the road and get your team squared away. I think Baltimore beats the shit out of them, obviously with the caveat that everybody that's on the COVID list is back for that game. So I think they get killed by Pittsburgh. I think they come back and get right against Dallas in an absolute murder. I think they put a lot of pressure on Dalton. I think they end up shutting down that Dallas passing game. I think they bottle up Zeke. And I think on the offense side of the ball, I think the J.K. Dobbins emergence is finally in full swing. I think we see him run all over Dallas. I think Lamar Jackson finally has a decent game. Which one of the pass catchers does it? I don't know. It certainly isn't going to be Hollywood Brown, though, because he has been a ghost. I think Andrews can have a big game here. I think, spin the wheel at wide receiver outside of Hollywood. I think one of those guys has a decent game, too. And it is the revenge game for Mr. Throw Up the X there. So
Big Dez? Yeah, we're giving him revenge games. We just got the practice squad. Mark Andrews might not be able to return for this game. He was a late positive, so his 10-day window, I'm not sure because he has to be like asymptomatic for it to be, for it to start. So his clock is ticking on making that game. I don't think it matters because the state of Texas is the absolute worst at defending the run, where the Texans are 31st and the Cowboys are 32nd. They can't stop the run at all. So Baltimore is just going to J.K. Dobbins them, Gus Edwards, and a little Mark Ingram them to death with a 2-week off Lamar Jackson. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath. And let's talk about that Ravens schedule real quick. After the game tonight against the Steelers, which I agree, they're outmanned and outgunned. They should get destroyed tonight, but who knows? This is the NFL. Dallas at Cleveland Browns versus Jaguars versus Giants at Bengals to finish the season. They are going to run the table those last 5 weeks, and they're going to finish versus Dallas at Cleveland versus Jacksonville versus New York Giants at Bengals.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. The only bad part is the Bengals will be after our fantasy season is over. We cannot reap the benefits of that drubbing. But the beautiful thing is that Baltimore is going to have to win all those games. They're not running away with things, and they're not blowing teams out. So we're going to get 4 quarters.
The Cleveland game is going to be good.
I agree. It's a Monday nighter, too.
Ooh.
So they have a Tuesday nighter and then their Monday nighter the weekend thereafter before they return to Sunday football for the rest of their games. But, yeah, Baltimore has a great closing schedule. Dallas, I'm not trusting any of those pass catchers against Baltimore. I mean, I know that Amari Cooper's going to get peppered, even though you've referenced earlier that Baltimore's run defense hasn't been the same with the injuries and the like. Still not trusting Zeke because that Dallas offensive line is abysmal, and he is volume dependent as ever. And I don't believe they're going to get that opportunity to give him 20-plus carries in this game. Would be a sneaky Tony Pollard game when it's all said and done. But Baltimore will be getting right from Tuesday, December 8th on, in my humble opinion. And that, my friend, is how Week 13 closes out.
With a whimper.
Yeah.
If it even happens. It's a perfect close. If you listen to the first episode where we went over the early games, it's nice. We had a little excitement at the 4:00 window there, and then slowly petered out to a little puff of smoke.
It's like when you feel a fart, you're like, oh, this is going to be a good one. And you're like, oh, and it's like, that's all that comes out. You're like, man, I expected so much better. Yeah, that's Dallas.
Yes. Well,
huge disappointment.
But all right, so that wraps up our Week 13. Even when it's stretched over 4 days this week, five games. I don't even know.
It might not end on December 8th. Who knows? I mean, this is where we're at. There's a game being played tonight or this afternoon on Wednesday. So buckle up. This is going to be an interesting fantasy playoff. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that'll do it for myself, John DeBari, my co-host, Matt Walker, Andrew Burke, if he is still alive or exists. We are the Fantasy 40. We are out of here.
Out! Austin Eckler catches 15 balls against the New England Patriots.
I love it.
Catches.
This, I didn't know this game today was going to be on NBC, and I mean, it makes sense. They just moved the Thursday game to today. But I bought 2 pizzas that day. I was going to have one for breakfast and one for lunch on Thanksgiving, but then I passed out. So now I still have my other Thanksgiving pizza, and my kids are gone, and I'm going to have I'm having Thanksgiving part 2 then today.
Lunch pizza when you'll get to see the game. Look at that. It's like the week never happened for you.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly.
Beautiful. So proud.